Teepa, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure. It's good to be here.
Yeah, it's exciting to have you, and we're going to learn a lot today, I'm sure. Um, Before we start, we have a Patreon where members of the village, so our community of supporters, they get to ask the guest a question. And one of the questions that they asked um, and they would like answered is, my parent still has moments of clarity and then moments where they don't recognize me at all. How do I stay emotionally connected without constantly grieving the version of them that comes and goes?
Ouch. Yeah. That inability to recognize the person as a relationship from the past is really hard. So, one of the things I encourage people to be is in the present. So, if somebody says, "Do I know you?" your response needs to be, "You're wondering if you know me." Well, my name is Teepa, and I think we're familiar with one another. To see where it goes. Because what I can't assume you're with me. I can't assume you've lost me as your daughter or wife or whatever it might be. But in that moment, I give you my info. I'm Teepa. And if Teepa rings a bell, which it might, because that's auditory, and there are lots of history pieces attached to my temporal lobe as opposed to my occipital. So what happens is it might go in as like Teepa. Well, I have a daughter named Teepa. You go, you do? Well, let me ask you something. Is she your favorite or something else? And just play with it a little bit. So be present in the moment enough to realize in that moment they must know you from somewhere, but they can't find and it's a specific part of the brain, the hippocampal area, the learning and memory center. It's a mystery. And then other times the wiring is fine and the message gets through. It's sort of like a short circuiting system. And the more comfortable I am with being in the present with them. So I'm Teepa and you are, and now I've got to watch myself. So if they say, well, I'm Harriet, and I go, oh, Harriet, because what she didn't say, well, I'm your mom. What are you talking about? Which means, ooh. So we have the present relationship. I don't have a past. All right. All right. So Harriet, tell me something. Are you a are you a fan of dinner or dessert? And just move forward. Um, Now, what I will say is you need to allow time after this interaction to find a space, a place, possibly a partner to grieve the loss. It's super important to allow those emotions to flow out in a safe space, but the safe space is not in front of me or with me because I am how I am in that moment. And it's just sometimes I can and sometimes I can't. But you do need a place to grieve that or to celebrate it. Like in that moment, she knew me today. And she remembered when we went on that vacation and it was like, celebrate. Um, but then next time, find someone to also grieve with. And for people who are not big talkers, you need to start developing a relationship with somebody. I mean, you do want to try it with somebody.
It sounds a lot, Teepa, like there is um, almost an improvisation ability we need to have. We need to navigate this. Um,
Yeah.
what do they need? How do they see it? How do I perceive the world and present the world in a way that's reflective of what they are understanding?
Exactly. And I always encourage people to start with whatever you gave me. So if you said, "What are you doing here?" You're wondering why I'm here because it gives my brain a space to go, okay, so zero memory that I just talked to him 5 minutes ago and said I was going to be right up. Zero memory that we're probably going to the doctor's office in a few minutes. Zero ability at this moment to hook all that together. So you're wondering why I'm here. Pause. Now my brain goes, I have a surprise and you may or may not like it because I know now it's going to be a surprise. So I'm allowing myself to hear this one bit and start to think, what does it mean for our relationship right now? And it's a skill. I mean, it is definitely a skill to be that flexible. However, I think, Andrew, if we come into it and I say, Andrew, there are times when I'm going to know you, there are times I'm not. Here's a way that whether I do or don't, we can be comfortable with each other. Would you be interested? Or is it like, no, I just want her to know me? Like, what are you thinking you're most interested in for me and you? Get comfortable. I mean, I can't fix the condition, but we can heal relationships if we can let go of what we can't have. Because I just can't do it right in that moment. And it doesn't mean forever. It just means for right now. Um, and in the future will get harder, but for right now, you have it sometimes.
Wow. Yeah, that it made a complicated question, I think, very simple simple in theory, but it takes a lot of, practice to get to that point.
Yeah. So who should you practice with, the person, or do you think you should have a friend out there working with you?
I mean, in my mind, I would suspect that, like in the case my wife and I, when we were caring, spending time with my grandmother, we would do this kind of as almost a debrief experience, a debrief exercise of this is what grandma did today, and let's talk about it.
And this is, for me, one of the saddest parts about dementia. We get so isolated that we don't. We grieve our losses like in this isolation rather than going, wow, it was a really hard visit today. She really didn't know who I was at all. And yet it was a good visit, but it was super hard. Do you have 5 minutes? And it's like, let's debrief, because my sharing with you, how will your next visit be if we've done that? What's the difference? You know?
Wow. So, Teepa, I always start the episodes with an origin story. So, how did you get into the space? You've been in this space for 40 years. So what
40,
was the
45,
what happened?
45 now, Andrew,
Wow,
45.
wow,
Um, well, interesting. I never necessarily thought I would be in this space. I started off as a teenager working with kids with developmental disabilities who were coming out of state-run facilities back home to families who had no idea what to do, because the kids were taken away saying, you're not a good, you don't know how to parent these kids. We'll take care of it. And then after 5 years, it was like, well, we've given up. This is not working. We need to send them back to you. We're going to close the state facilities. Here you go. And so parents were sort of left like, but what am I supposed to do? And so local programs started popping up, and we had one. It was a YMCA program run by a special ed teacher. And on Saturdays, we'd have all these kids come in for respite for their parents. And I got to understand brains that were different. We had kids with cerebral palsy, with Down syndrome, with autism, with speech problems, with they were deaf and they had huge cleft palates because of measles outbreaks back in the day. We had all these kids, and we learned to be with the kids and have fun with the kids and enjoy our time and learn. And so from that, I got super curious and was like, ooh. So I always want to be with people with brains that are different. I like neurodiversity. So I went into, then when I was in occupational therapy, I went into, I did developmental disabilities, but I also did stroke and I did head injury. And then I got into geriatrics in a big way. And once I discovered geriatrics, I discovered dementia is the dumping ground for we don't know what to do with you. And dementia was seen as a diagnosis of loss and death rather than, wow, look what she can still do. Watch this. Take a look. Yeah, if we change this, watch what she's still at. She doesn't have language, but here, watch when I do this and I go, hey, Andrew, you got one? You got a drink? Like, yeah. Huh? Cheers. And I could get her to drink. But if I tried to hold the cup up to her mouth, she'd fight me. So it's like, huh. So, and that's what started me in this area. And then I found out I was pretty good at helping other people figure things out. And that was the journey into training, education, continuing ed, special programs, videos, DVDs, TikTok. I mean, it's the whole thing has gotten crazy,
the
what can I
technology
say?
has evolved from the award-winning DVD into TikTok and
I mean,
Instagram.
TikTok, I mean, like YouTube channels. I mean, the whole thing is just like, wow. But, people will find it late at night in desperation. They'll find a YouTube video and then they'll watch another one and then they watch another one. And then they come to our website and they go, this is what I was needing. This is what I can do with that. Okay. Let me try it. And then people have a moment of like, I was really different. And so, when I do talks, people say, I know you don't know me, but it changed how I had a relationship with my dad and it mattered. So thank you. And it's like, wow. And then I have people say, oh, I wish I'd known this 10 years ago. And it's like, yeah, I wish you did too. Cause like I've been doing this a long time and that there's still not a way to spread this universally as a base foundation when you get a condition starting is really hard.
What's so crazy to me is that it is so prevalent and it is only becoming more prevalent, but yet the supports and the knowledge are so few and far between. I mean, I would have been mid-20s, I think, when my grandmother was diagnosed Alzheimer's, and I'm like, "I don't know what this means. Is this, like, almost a cancer diagnosis?" I was an engineer, good at math, totally ignorant to the whole thing.
I mean, what did you leave the office with? A diagnosis. It is like, but so, I mean, we can try these meds. They probably won't do it. It's like, wait, but what else? And it's like, well, you'll get to a place where you probably are going to need meds for behavior. You're probably going to have, you may need placement. There are people, social workers, probably if you get your affairs in order. It's like, what, what about, what are we supposed to do now? And it's like, wow, big missing, huge missing chunk, huge.
Just the diagnosis will fundamentally change things so much. Maybe it's a, now you can't drive, that you're stopped from doing that. Or just, I was able to drive here, but now I'm not able to, like, just
Wait,
this
wait,
diagnosis
what?
changed
What do you
things.
mean I can't drive? This is ridiculous. And then we're surprised when people are upset. It's like, well, let me take your purse. Let me take your keys. Let me take your identity as a professional. We're going to take all those things away from you. It'll be fine. It's like, this isn't fine. I was fine walking in here. And now you're telling me I'm not. And, some of that has to do with whether the person has a symptom called anosognosia, the inability to be self aware. But people who are self aware are still like, but wait, it's not that bad. You mean, are you saying that I can't live alone? Wait, why not? I mean, I've been doing it. And it's like, well, I'm willing to take the chance. And it's like, well, but you don't have good judgment. I didn't have good judgment before. So I'm not sure that's a big change.
Did you have any experience growing up with dementia?
I did. My grandfather moved in when my grandmother died, which is when we discovered he was in Cleveland. We were in Pittsburgh. And we got a call one night after my grandmother had just recently died from the apartment complex he was in. It was the owners of the apartment complex said, you got to come get him. I mean, he's breaking into people's apartment trying to fix their sinks. I mean, he thinks he's the superintendent again. I mean, he hasn't been the superintendent for 15, 20 years. I mean, I don't know what he thinks he's doing, but he can't do this. We went out, and that's when we discovered she had really hidden how involved he was. And when she died, I mean, that it was evident. Wow. So he came to live with us. And so that's how I was in my early teens. That's how I was first introduced to this idea of dementia. And then later on, my grandmother on the other side developed a different dementia. And then later on, my mother-in-law and my mom all developed brain changes consistent with dementia. But most of them died of other health related things. So we didn't get, and they weren't all Alzheimer's. One of them was, the other two weren't, the other three weren't.
Looking back, is there anything that you did specifically, like in memories that said, I did this and I care for them as this way because that's what I thought was best, but you're like, in
Oh, yeah.
hindsight, that probably
Ooh.
wasn't the best approach.
My absolute work, I did really well with my grandpa. I mean, for some reason, I got him. And so when he'd say, I got to get out of here, I got to get home at 5 p.m., I'd say, hey, grandpa, if you leave, I'll be out. I said, please don't go. And he would go, all right, I'll stay, but this can't last much longer. And it's like, well, thank you. What do you want for dinner? And I learned to cook dinner because that was actually what was going on. He was hungry. It was 5 o'clock. He always ate at 5 o'clock. My grandmother always had dinner on the table at 5. My mom didn't get home till after that. So that was good. My grandma on the other side, ooh, I insisted she was going to take a shower. So I got her clothes off, and that was not easy. But they said, they're going to fight you. Just go on and get it over with. You just have to get it over with. I got her in the shower, and she was not a happy one. I turned the water on, and she exploded. And it was like I was holding her in, and we didn't have a handheld shower. This was ages ago. And I said, Grandma, come on, wash up. And I have a washcloth. She grabbed the washcloth. She started slapping me with the wet washcloth. They hurt. Let go, son of a bitch. And it's like, oh, Grandma. And like the good Christian woman was well gone out the window, and she was mad. And so I just turned off the water. I'm like, okay, fine, we're done. So she stormed through the house stark naked, mad as a hornet. And finally she calmed down a little bit. And I said, Grandma, let me help you dry off. She goes, well, some woman left me all wet. And I said, I am so sorry. That was one of the smartest things I ever said. I'm so sorry that happened. And so she helped me get dry. She got clothes on. I mean, Lord, we got out on the porch. She was on this, we had a glider. She was on the glider, and she turned to me, she says, where's Teepa? And I said, Grandma, I'm right here. She goes, not you, the nice one. I was like, so that was the last time I ever did that. And ever since then, I've said there's lots of ways to get people clean. Shoving them in the shower is not a good idea. Yeah.
When you were developing your approach, how did this factor in? How did these experiences with your family, because you have quite a few examples, how did this factor into the design of what you're teaching families?
Yeah. I learned from really sometimes hard experience what didn't work, but I also got an opportunity to figure out what did. And then because my mind is such a curious mind, it's like, okay, well, let me try this and see what happens. So I would test hypotheses, like what would happen if. And so I'd try it this way. And it was like, then I'd try it the other way. My grandfather would say, well, I need green beans. And I'd say, like, I'd decide, well, Grandpa, I put green beans on your plate. You never eat them. Why bother put them on the plate if you're not going to eat them? And he'd go, don't give me shit, little girl. And it's like, whoa. So that really ticked him off. And now, I didn't know then, but now I know what was happening is his primitive brain felt threatened by me. And he was losing language skills, but keeping forbidden words, which is a very common phenomena in dementia. People keep forbidden words and chit-chat words, but they lose language, formal language. So I triggered all that by being, quote unquote, in his world, defiant. And so I thought, okay, well, Grandpa, I'm going to give you green beans. Is that okay? Yep, that's fine. So I put them on the plate, take them back off the plate, put them in the fridge, put them on the plate, take it back off the plate. I developed a strategy that worked for me, which is he needed green beans on the plate. Something about his plate visual had to have green beans. He wasn't ever going to eat them. He never ate them, which was probably a good idea because I kept them probably longer than I should have. But, I wasn't that old. So I learned by doing. Once I learned by doing, I could then say, okay, Andrew, I want you to try something. Now I have a way to help you learn. I say, I'm going to say to you, no, you can't have that. What do you automatically want to say to me?
Yes, I can.
Well, no, you can't. You're not allowed to. The doctor says no.
I want to find a way to do it. I'm going to do it
Yeah,
on my
there
own.
you go.
Right?
And so,
I think.
Yeah. So here's another skill that's preserved is arguing. Turn taking is preserved, but so is arguing. So if I say, oh, Andrew, I have a big favor to ask of you.
Mm-hmm. What do you need from me?
Yeah. So the doctor's been on me about you eating bacon. And like, man, I told him, like, what's the problem? But he's like, I want you to try no bacon. And I said, but he likes bacon. And he said, you're not a very good caregiver if you give him bacon. Could you do me a big favor for like 1 week? For like 1 week, could we try something? Could we do turkey bacon instead of regular bacon? Can we try it? So what's that called? Did I take away everything?
I think you're engaging with their empathetic self, right? You're engaging with them instead of forcing them to do something. They're choosing to do it.
Yeah. Who's the bad guy?
The doctor.
Who has to live with you 24/7?
Interesting.
So, if we're going to try something that I know they're not going to like, let it be someone else's rule that you're trying to I'm so sorry. I hate it. I absolutely hate it. But they're wanting us to try this. I know it may not work. Can we at least try it? Because trying equals participating. And it's with your permission, which is real different than Andrew, the doctor says we have to do this. So come on, take your shirt off. It's like, no, because now whose side am I on? I'm over there with the doctor saying you're the one that's not. And it's like, no, we're on a team and it's hard sometimes. So we're going to try something.
Do you find that that this approach works, whether we talk about someone with frontal temporal or vascular dementia, Lewy bodies, across the spectrum? Do we think that these approaches generally will work in most
As
cases?
long as people have some language skills or interaction. FTD is the toughest because of, well, and vascular, if it hits the emotional center of the brain. When someone has FTD, one of the risks is that they develop apathy, which is the I don't care, I can't care, I don't have any emotional attachment to anything kind of issue. And if that's a symptom of their dementia, we can't use our connection even in that moment because there isn't one. So I can't ask you for a favor. I can say, hey, Andrew, we need to do something for 5 minutes and then I'm going to leave you alone. Because I'm setting a time limit. 5 minutes is usually a chunk of time that almost all humans believe they can endure anything for 5 minutes. So I say, we need to work for 5 minutes, then I'm going to leave you alone. We'll turn the TV on. Because the one thing you like to do is sit and watch Western. Okay. So who holds the control? Well, it's out of sight, out of mind. I don't have it. You don't have it because I can't hold it. Because if I hold it, then I'm the boss of you. But I can say, I'll get it turned on for you after these 5 minutes, and then I'm going to leave you be. And that's the hardest thing sometimes for me who loves you and cares for you to say is, I know we don't have that kind of relationship anymore. And I'm going to let go of that for your care. And I would say in those cases, creating greater distance from your care for me is going to be better and allow someone else who's not grieving all that loss because you used to be the man who, whatever in my life, and now you can't because of the FTD and the language is disappearing and the affect is disappearing. And that's super hard when that happens. Super
You
hard.
mentioned earlier on that the language processing changes and the common words kind of like fall away and some other more, let's say, colorful words will stay. Why
Yeah.
is that?
Because formal language is located in the left temporal lobe and more primitive, sort of emotionally rhythmic kinds of things are located in the right. And it turns out all the dementias impact the left. It's asymmetric. It hits the left more than it hits the right, hippocampally, temporal lobe. And so it takes out, that's the only place in the brain for language, vocabulary, comprehension, speech production. So what you when you go to you know I teach in the thing that you say when you say things, you know what I'm saying. So what happened there is I have every thought I've ever had, but I'm getting robbed of the next word. What's the next word? And yet I still want to talk and want to communicate. Um, I and that's called a non-fluent aphasia. So that's where I've got non-fluent, but equally you'll find that the parameters are not always significant. And sometimes what will be paramount is that phenomenological issue where you see it and it's like, what? And then you recognize on the contrary that you got it. And that's a fluent aphasia where your brain goes, what is she talking about? Um, and for some people, that's harder to deal with because you go, Mom, slow down. I don't understand what you're saying, but I don't have the words anymore, but my brain gave me a nice rhythm. Um, both are super hard to live with either side of it, whether you're living with it or you're living with somebody living with it. Super hard.
So, Teepa, we know that the prevalence of dementia is increasing. I'm in Canada, it's not just Canada, but globally, we're seeing it happen more and more. We're also seeing more of public spotlight on it. So, what impact does it have being in the public spotlight? So, for context, you are or were brought in by Bruce Willis's family to support him as he went through this journey. Is there any sort of impact for these public figures um, as they go through it? The more people watching them as they navigate and have to go through this experience?
It, it's a really hard place for a care partner to be to determine how public, how not public. If I say before I develop too far into my dementia, I want to be present in the world. I want to make a difference. I want people to know about my experience, like Glenn Campbell, like um, Perry Como. Like we have lots of people who want when they're in those early stages, they want to make a difference. They're an advocate. They want to be speaking out. And yet, when they get to a certain place in their dementia, it starts to feel so painful to have them visually present and struggling. Or you find moments where they can absolutely shine, like Lady Gaga and Tony Bennett, like where they figure out how to let Tony Bennett do the joyful musical thing, right? Rhythmic side that he has. And then he doesn't, you see it in his face. He doesn't know what's coming next. She starts the song, click, he's there. And that rehearsal to know how that's going to play out. So for like Emma had to get to a place of pain. I mean, she was in a lot of distress, trying to allow and give Bruce opportunities to be present, but knowing FTD. I mean, he started with primary progressive aphasia and then it developed into a full out FTD. It robs you of impulse control. And when it robs you of impulse control, when you go to a candy store, guess what happens? When you go to get pizza, guess what happens? Any impulse you ever had, whether you're a teenager or a kid, in that moment, what I want is what I want, and I want it, and I want it right now, and I'm going to grab it, and I'm going to put it in my mouth. And so I'm going to eat stuff that I shouldn't. I'm going to say things that I shouldn't. I'm going to avoid, I may do things that surprise people. So trying to determine, how do we do this when you're a public figure involved and people have thoughts and opinions and all that stuff, super hard. Super hard. So my admiration. Yeah, she's working. No, I think Emma has done a fantastic job writing the books the way she did. Is like, this was hard. This is super hard. You are super isolated. You seem like I don't know what to do. And you don't get as much support as you need to get through this kind of thing, especially with young onset. That's the other tricky part. Young onset, particularly. He's too young for that. I was like, I wish. I wish people were too young to get dementia, but children can get dementia, which is usually a surprise for folks. So I think what is happening is we're starting to open the door and going, 1 in 5 families is dealing with this at any moment in time. And quite honestly, it could be a neighbor, it could be immediate family, it could be a distant family member, but every family, 1 out of 5, 2 out of 5 right now actually are dealing with it. So 2 out of 5 families, that's a lot of people to not have more out there to support. Like, how do I help a neighbor who's starting to do things that you're like, yikes. There isn't any spouse anymore. The kids live way far away. We want to help. What do we do? There should be right away. Here's 5 things you can do that could be super helpful. Here's some skills you want to develop if you're going to try it. I truly believe we need to be become dementia competent communities because it's going to be around and about. It helps with neurodiversity. I mean, it's not going to hurt anybody to become competent.
It makes me think that the direction that these, very public figures um, are playing is going to change the direction towards, cancer was heavily stigmatized, was heavily assuming that people would die when they have it. But but now it's kind of shifting. You have uh, Gene Wilder had dementia. I can't remember which one he had. There's so many celebrities and public figures, political figures
Yeah.
that have gone through this journey, and they're normalizing this thing and making it not this taboo thing. Like it is, anyone can get it. And how do we establish a culture and community where it is okay? Let's just love on our neighbor.
Yeah. Let's quit medicalizing it to such an extent that it's a medical condition because it isn't. It's a life condition. It's going to impact how you are living next to me. It's like when I see you at 2 a.m. outside on your front porch and it's 5 degrees out, which I'm sure Canada's even colder than that at this moment. I should go, Andrew, hey, I was looking for you. Come on over. I've got hot chocolate brewing. Not, what the hell are you doing on your front porch in the middle of the night? I mean, do you want me to call the authorities? No, I want you to come in out of the cold and then we'll figure it out. I mean, I need to really develop that ability to be tuned in. Andrew's not usually on the front porch at 3 a.m. in his PJs when it's 5 degrees and he looks like he's trying to get the window open. I mean, that is different. So let me bring him in. Let's deal with the immediate need. And then let's get curious about what's going on behind the scene there.
You address childhood dementia earlier on. I feel like this one is not very often talked about. I mean, my mother follows this one family on Instagram and follow this child's journey. And that's where I first became exposed to this. Can you talk about that? Because I think it's often ignored. It's like you mentioned earlier, early onset is becoming more common, but this
Kids,
unique area is
juvenile?
not.
No way. Yeah. So juvenile dementia has been around for a long time. It sometimes is genetically linked, but sometimes it happens spontaneously. And one form is called Batten's disease. And then there are a lot of neurologic developmental genetic conditions that help people develop, cause people to develop dementia. And what happens is I develop sort of typically and normally right at first, and then all of a sudden there's a reversal. And so all of a sudden I have premature aging at 5 years old, at 12 years old, at 2 years old. Um, and a family, it's a mystery for a while and unless you have the genetic coding done ahead of time, you don't know what's going on. And I don't know, people may be younger on this channel and not know, back in the day, Rye syndrome, where young, particularly girls, if they got aspirin as children, started to develop brain change. And we found out, certain young individuals, females particularly, are at high risk of brain deterioration if we give them aspirin. So you don't give kids aspirin anymore. You give them Tylenol, you give them other things, but you don't give them aspirin because of, wow. And so we had kids that were developing typically normally, and then they became self-abusive. They lost their language, they lost their mobility, they lost their finger skills, their eye skills, and became totally dependent and were often um, dependent for a substantial period of time through their 20s, early 30s, and they passed, or they didn't even live that long. So it's not prevalent, it's present. And so families that experience it, Lewy body has a young onset genetic component. FTD does. Alzheimer's. There are people who are very, very young that can develop Alzheimer's. It's a very unique population, but it happens. So it's like, ow, imagine that. I mean, juvenile dementias, never anticipated, and yet part of the equation. After head injuries, a risk. Yeah.
And this makes me wonder, like, we've seen, or we know there's a connection between TBI and um, dementia occurrence.
Risk of dementia. Hmm.
So it's makes me wonder, how do we mitigate that, knowing that some of these, NFL players are they're still going to play this thing, but knowing that we need to better support them down the road to do it,
We do.
to be equipped.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, they can fix the equipment as much as they can. And then, the sport that we've chosen, hockey, I mean, a lot of them are high contact sports. And when you hit somebody else and their brain inside their skull, I mean, you can protect it as much as you want, but there's higher risk. I think as long as the organizations that run the sports refuse to truly acknowledge the degree to which brain change is happening for athletes after playing for a certain number of years, as long as they don't want to acknowledge that unless they have to, I think it gets in our way. I think when we start going, you know what, we have this program, it's open, you don't have to wait till you pass to find out if you had CTE. We're going to actually go ahead and assume that there's a high probability during this sport things happen. Maybe not, maybe it happened for another reason, but just sort of like VA, our veterans also with some of the combat that they saw, the traumatic head injuries that they had, the emotional trauma that they experienced. Refusing to acknowledge and recognize, boy, this might be causing the potential for more dementia. Let's go ahead and get some programs in place to support people. Because it turns out if you give people purpose and you give them support, they live better. I mean, they might still very well die of their dementia, but Lord, until we get there, life is so much different for everybody involved. And that's my opinion. I spend a lot of time in these zones, and I think we dismiss things for too long with too little support, and then we're surprised when things go south and we're digging in for like heavy duty meds to try to medicate people and separate them from people because they're dangerous. And it's like people become dangerous when they feel unheard, unlistened to, unsupported, including families. I mean, it's so hard in families.
And I think that's one thing, Teepa, that really does bother me about the current state of dementia care and dementia supports. It is so focused on let's medically support this person. If they don't want to listen to what you're suggesting, let's throw a bunch of drugs at them and we'll or force them into compliance. If they're wandering, let's put them in a wheelchair and say, "Here you go." If they don't want to eat, let's force feed them. It's so sad. I mean, it's so scary, right?
We would not do this. I mean, we don't do this to any other health condition. I mean, this is a life condition. Even if you consider it a health condition, we've quit doing this to other people for a reason. I mean, it's not humane. It's not effective. It's not reasonable. It's extremely expensive, and it doesn't serve anyone. And so, like, why do we think this is okay? I mean, I don't get it. I mean, why would anyone, wouldn't want this for yourself? Why are we doing it to someone else then? We've got to get out of this idea that people living with the brain changes of dementia don't have agency and personhood. Because yes, I'm changing, but I'm me, but I'm different. But I'm not less of me. I'm a different kind of me. And I wish I could go back. I mean, I want to be how I was too. But, I don't know about you, but 25 was a long time ago for me. And I'm never going back. I mean, it's not happening, which is probably to the better. I've got different abilities now.
Totally. I think that for me, it's interesting because once you have this diagnosis, then it's like, this is how we are going to treat you now. It's going to be entirely different. We have a lady on the podcast, and her name is Phyllis Fair, and she's lovely, and it impacts her executive functioning is how it's impacted her, and she still drives. She still can drive her kids grandkids, and to the sporting events. But when she went and was getting diagnosed, she was having this great conversation with the doctor, and then the doctor left, came back and said, now you have dementia, but didn't, or now you have, what, I can't remember exact diagnosis, but he didn't say it to her. He said it to the husband, then wouldn't talk to her at all because now she has the diagnosis, so he can't talk to her. And
Whoa,
she
yeah,
was
that
so
dyad.
offended by this.
Ooh. I have so many friends that live with dementia who say, one of the most offensive things you can say to me is you don't look like you have dementia. And then the second most offensive thing you can do is act like I don't have common sense. I know when you're talking to me, I know when you're not. Don't talk over me. Don't talk around me. Talk to me and with me, and let's have a conversation. And if I don't have a lot of words, do some adjusting. Why don't you? I mean, you have capacity, use it. And I agree with them. I mean, it's like if I have the capacity to modify what I do to support someone, why wouldn't I? It exercises my brain. It keeps my brain healthy. It keeps my brain curious. And for me, it's like get out of the weeds and start presenting yourself as someone who has capacity because you do.
Would you say that was the foundation of how you built the snow approach?
Yeah. We are committed to this really dramatic change in how people are treated. Our When we had our building and we started in the building, the fire inspector came and she said, "Well, what's your plan for when you lock the door?" And it's like at night, and they were like, "No, like during the day when you have people in here." And it's like, "Why would we lock the door?" Well, because they have dementia, and it's like. Mm, they don't lock the restaurant and they don't lock the grocery store. I mean, the doors are at post offices open. I mean, why would we lock it? Well, what if they leave? And it's like, well, I mean, we either walk with them, somebody goes with them, or they leave. People make choices. Some of them will actually be driving themselves here and leaving. And it's like, but they have dementia. And it's like, wow, they have a long way to go. These are government officials. Oof, wow. But that's the expectation. Like, what are you going to do when you lock the door? It's like, I'm only going to do that at night. And then I lock the door and turn off the lights and we'll be back tomorrow, because it's, what can I tell you? I mean, we treat people like people and we support people. And that means we help other people figure that out where they can and give them space to take a breath. So respite for family members and training for family members and community members. Um, and it's interesting how people are like, oh, oh, oh. And then all of a sudden they're like, okay, I think I got it. It's like, well, try it out, see what happens. And they're like, oh my God, what a difference. What a difference. I mean, she answered me. It's like, well, yeah, because you asked in a way she could appreciate what you were doing. And it's like, I had a whole conversation. Or one of our favorites is, who here has dementia? And it's like, oh, you couldn't tell. It's like, no. It's like, good. It's exactly what we're looking for. People have been together for 2.5 hours. I still don't know.
So you've traveled all over the world and spoken on this topic. Do you think that this removal of agency and lack of trust on the person with dementia is a North American construct, or do you think it exists in some capacity globally?
It exists globally. There are pockets in most countries I go to. There'll be this little pocket of change. And then we'll find this vast array of old habit of diminished people. Um, the comment, she's not really there anymore. And it's like, well, I think she's still there. She's very different, but I still see her right there. And she made eye contact with me and smiled. So I'm pretty sure she's there. Um, and if I say, hey, she goes, hey, back. And I say, I'm American. And she goes, I'm Mary. And I go, nice to meet you, Mary. Because it means that's where I'm at. And it's like, huh, it's remarkable how humans are humans first. And so I'd say internationally, we have huge issues, huge issues. And yet in Japan, there's a restaurant where you go, you're going to have mistakes, but people living with dementia cook it, serve it, and they're having fun and everybody feels purposeful. You go to Scotland, they're raising chickens in the house. Everybody has their special thing. Everybody's Those of us who are changing things are trying to stay in connection with one another, um, because we're small pods of shift. But if we can get enough people shifting, the tide turns.
Yeah, I mean, I've never been to Japan, but I've heard stories um, of a specific dementia community there where it's literally a community. Like it's a dementia kind of village, but instead of walls, they have other Japanese people living there, and the people with dementia, if they wander away, someone in the community is going to say, "Hey, Frank, walk back
Hey,
this way. This is
John,
where we need to go."
come here. I could use your help. Yeah, I mean, it's just, I mean, the number of times I walk about, oh, Andrew, I am so glad to see you. I was looking for you. I could really use your help. Come with me for just 5 minutes. Well, wherever you were going, you forget about it because I gave you an interjection and a purpose, and you're like, "Ugh, I just helped you." And it's like, I know, I'm sort of a whiner. Come here. Let me show you what I need. And you come because you're human and I have need and you can meet my need. And all of a sudden, we're in a better place. It's like, here, pull this down for me. I mean, I could have pulled it down, but I needed you to do it so that you were with me instead of not with me right now.
So, Teepa, this is a question I ask a lot of people. Like the listeners have probably heard this question a lot. In institutional care facilities, what is your perspective of the waterfall or bookshelf doors or whatever other imagery you want?
All right. So 20 years ago, when we first created them, and they were first created, I saw value in it because people would go to the door, it was locked, they couldn't get out, and it created a great amount of distress. They would beat on the door, pound on the door, try to get out. So that at least gave them a hint, you can't get out here, which was true. It's not an option. Um, for me, if people are roaming around and roaming around and roaming around, however, it says to me, we've got two issues. There's not enough to do here that gives me a sense of value, purpose, fun. I don't want to be here and I'm looking for an exit. So what are we doing to mitigate that? And if we're not doing something, then a bookshelf is not the answer. What's the answer is me working and figuring out how do we engage one another and how do we just quit locking doors and pretending like, put something up there so nobody knows. I don't want people distressed. So worst case scenario, okay, put it up. But if I try to take a book off it, you better figure out what you're going to do about that. Where's the waterfall? I thought this was a waterfall. This is stupid. You better have an answer. And I would say 99.9% of the time, no one has trained staff to do anything. All they've done is put up a waterfall or put up a bookshelf. And they don't have any plan for anything. It's like, if you make me think it's a bookshelf, where's the book? I've got to be able to pick up a book. So do you have books real nearby with a little bookshelf that you can say, you know what? Here, take a look at this one, see what you think of it. Because what we're trying to do is use environment to trick people into staying somewhere. We aren't giving them and staff the things they need, the tools they need, the resources they need to make my life feel valuable. Why am I trying to get out? Because there's nothing here for me.
Do you think it's almost a Band-Aid approach then?
Of course. Yeah. I mean, we've used so many Band-Aids. It's like, let's bring the fish in. What are you doing? What are you gonna do? Where's the cat? Look, we have this. And it's like, oh, the new babysitter. Oh, look, I've got a TV set. Great. Everybody will go to sleep. Now what? Sort of like, oh, look, we have a fake entrance. Wonderful. So what are you going to do with people? And it's like, people don't have game plans. Care plans are just simply, how do we take care of a body? Which is concerning because bodies are just the least of us. I mean, our body is part of us, but that's not us. And so we have all these care plans about how we're going to do care, but the care is physical care stuff. I take care of myself so I can go do something. I don't take care of myself to take care of myself. I mean, maybe a spa day, though I don't do those, but some people do. Maybe that would be fun. Not for me. Please don't do my toes. Please don't paint my toes. Please don't paint my fingernails. You can rub some hand lotion on my hands because they're usually rough. Don't
That
be
happens.
painting my stuff.
All right, Teepa. We're going to go to a round that I now call lightning round.
Lightning round. Okay.
Are you ready?
Okay.
All right.
I'm ready.
Coffee or tea?
Coffee.
Decaf or calf?
Decaf after 10.
That's kind of my approach as well. Otherwise, I don't.
Half calf before that. Half calf before, decaf after.
There you go. One word in dementia care you wish would disappear.
Patient. They're
Morning
not
person
patients, they're
or
people.
yeah, I agree. I did a whole mini episode on language and dementia care because it's issues. Are you a morning person or a night owl?
I am a early morning and early evening. I'm a deer. I have 2 periods of very high activity and I need a siesta in the middle or a break in the middle. So sort of in that.
One word that you think caregivers should use more.
I'm going to partner with you. Could you help me? Could you help me? Instead of the other way around, let me help you.
What is one habit that makes care harder than it needs to be?
Leading with touch. When I put my hands on you without permission. Too many words, leading with touch.
What is one small thing that helps people more than they expect?
Oh, Andrew, I could use your help. It's one of the most powerful phrases I've ever. Interjection with energy, excitement, positive. And you know what? You were just trying to break the door down. And I go, oh, Andrew, I could really use your help. Guess what happens 9 out of 10 times?
Yeah,
You pause. You turn to me and go, what do you need? Or you just come over. Because all of a sudden, I gave you something of value because I said you were valuable. I think we underestimate the importance of being valued as a human being all too often.
What do you think caregivers overthink the most?
We've got to get this done. We've got to get this done right now. We've got to get her clean. We've got to get her fed. We've got to get this task done. I think there's way too much focus on task and way too little focus on building the relationship so that the task just happens.
What's one thing people living with dementia rarely will forget?
How I feel about you. I either like you or I don't. Trust you or I don't.
What matters more than just trying to get it right?
Being willing to practice and make a mistake and learn from the mistake. They're powerful. Mistakes are really powerful because they help you change. It will change your synapses faster than any success story. Making a mistake and learning from the mistake will change your brain dynamically and so radically. It's so fun to watch a brain go, oh, that makes so much sense. Okay, well, now let me try. It's like, okay, let's try it.
What does a good day in dementia caregiving look like?
There are at least 3 moments of joy that you can come back to. There are moments of connection that you didn't expect, and you remember to breathe.
What's the most human thing that's happened to you recently?
I had my daughter drive me in for this because there's ice and snow on the ground, and I know I'm not a good driver. So I had to ask for help when I usually, I'm pretty independent, but no, I'm not stupid. So that made me human.
Well, we appreciate your daughter driving you to this episode.
Me too.
What is one thing families should stop feeling guilty about?
When dementia gets this big, you need to spend this much time with me so you can actually like me. this much. I think families try to do too much for too long with too little, with no support. And we need to give families some space to breathe and to grieve and to grow and to learn and then support them more. I think that's not fair to families, what we're doing. 80% or more of care is delivered by friends and family in dementia. That's way too much with way too little support in place. It's not okay.
What gives you hope right now?
People like you deciding to share out in ways that make a difference. I think the more we get the word out, the more we speak up, the more we speak out, the more we join hands and reach out. Um, we've got, in my mind, we've just got to start breaking these barriers down, but not with, shovels and hammers, but with wisdom and knowledge and skill and curiosity. We've got to help people turn away from what they're doing to something different that is going to give them more life.
I always give the guest the last word.
Yeah. Um, we never know who's going to be next. If you don't have a baseline on your abilities, maybe it's time to start there because dementia is tricky. It can take you away from yourself as you know yourself without you being aware, but sometimes you're very aware. But build a community because it matters. Build a community and be part of a community, um, regardless of what your role is, because you'll always then have a community to fall back on if you need it.
Teepa, thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure having you here. And I know that there's going to be so much insights that our listeners are going to be able to take away. I know I have taken so much away. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you for the opportunity and all the work you're doing. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And to our listeners, thank you for being here. If today's conversation resonated with you, make sure to follow the Dementia Collective wherever you get your podcasts. And don't forget to share this episode with someone you think might benefit. And if you'd like to help us grow this movement, please consider becoming a member of the Village on Patreon. Among the other benefits, like the ability to ask questions to our guests, you'll get early access to every episode, plus the satisfaction of helping powerful voices like Teepa's reach more caregivers around the world. And finally, if you're on your own caregiving journey, remember, you are not alone. We're here at BlueBell to help connect you with supports and resources that truly fit your family's unique needs. Until next time, remember, you are strong, you are not alone, and you're doing something that matters more than you know. See you next time.